Let me ask you something. Why do some people work hard for 30 years and still struggle, while others, earning the same income, quietly build real wealth? It's not luck, it's not talent, and it's definitely not just about how much you make. It's habits. I've seen people earning six figures live paycheck to paycheck. I've seen modest earners retire comfortably. The difference isn't income, it's behavior. And today, I'm going to show you 6 bad money habits that silently destroy wealth. These habits don't look dangerous. They feel normal, comfortable, even harmless. But over time, they quietly drain your future. If you fix even 2 of these, your financial life can completely change. If you ignore them, no salary will ever be enough. Let's get into it. One of the most dangerous financial mistakes people make is living without a clear plan for their money, not because they are careless, not because they are irresponsible, but because they assume things will somehow work themselves out, and that assumption quietly costs them years of progress. Most people wake up, go to work, earn their income, pay their bills, spend what feels reasonable, and repeat the cycle. There is no defined direction, no target, no system, just movement. And movement without direction does not create wealth. It creates survival. Money behaves differently when it has instructions. When there is no plan, money reacts to emotions. It reacts to sales, peer pressure, social media, stress, boredom, and lifestyle comparisons. A written plan forces logic into a space where emotion usually dominates. Without that structure, spending becomes automatic and saving becomes optional. I've worked with individuals who earn impressive incomes, yet have no clarity about where their money actually goes. When asked how much they saved last year, they guess. When asked what percentage of their income they invest, they estimate. Wealth is never built on guesses. It is built on intentional decisions repeated consistently. A financial plan does not need to be complicated. It simply needs to exist. When you define how much will be saved, how much will be invested, how much will be spent, and what the long-term objective is, you take control. Without that clarity, money slips through unnoticed gaps. Small inconsistencies compound over time, and years later people wonder why they feel stuck despite earning well. Living without a plan also means you are constantly reacting. An emergency happens and it becomes a crisis. An opportunity appears and you cannot take advantage of it. A market shift occurs and you panic. Planning transforms reaction into preparation. Preparation builds confidence. Confidence allows better decisions. Another issue is that without a defined goal, motivation fades quickly. If you do not know what you are building toward, discipline feels painful. Saving feels like sacrifice instead of progress. Investing feels risky instead of strategic. A clear destination makes temporary restraint meaningful. Without it, every financial decision feels disconnected. What surprises many people is that planning does not restrict freedom. It creates it. When you assign money with purpose, you remove guilt from spending and anxiety from saving. You know what you can afford. You know what you cannot. That clarity reduces stress dramatically. Wealth is rarely destroyed in dramatic moments. It is eroded slowly through unmanaged cash flow and unclear priorities. The absence of a plan is not loud. It does not announce itself as a problem. It simply delays progress year after year. If income is fuel, a financial plan is the steering wheel. Without it, you may be moving fast, but you are not necessarily moving forward. And over time, direction matters far more than speed. One of the most common wealth killers is upgrading your lifestyle the moment your income increases. It feels natural. You work harder, you earn more, so you reward yourself. A better car, a larger home, nicer restaurants, premium subscriptions. On the surface, it looks like progress. In reality, it often locks people into a financial treadmill they can never step off. The pattern is predictable. Someone gets a raise, and within months their expenses quietly rise to match it. The extra income disappears into higher rent, upgraded gadgets, more frequent travel, and subtle daily luxuries. Nothing feels excessive. Each decision feels justified. But collectively, they raise the baseline cost of living. And once your lifestyle expands, it rarely shrinks comfortably. The danger is not enjoying your money. The danger is increasing fixed expenses. When your obligations grow, your flexibility disappears. You now need that higher income just to maintain your current life. If something changes, a job loss, a business slowdown, an unexpected expense, pressure builds instantly. A lifestyle that once felt like success becomes a source of stress. I have seen individuals double their income over a decade and yet feel no wealthier than when they started. Why? Because every increase in earnings was matched by an increase in spending. The house payment grew. The car payment grew. The social circle changed. Expectations changed. And suddenly, maintaining appearances became more important than building assets. Lifestyle inflation is especially dangerous because it hides behind achievement. It feels earned. It feels deserved. And in moderation, enjoying your progress is healthy. But when spending scales automatically with income, investing becomes secondary. Savings become an afterthought. Wealth creation slows down even as income rises. There is also a psychological shift that happens. When you upgrade too quickly, your new standard becomes normal. The excitement fades. What once felt luxurious becomes ordinary. Then you chase the next upgrade to feel that same sense of progress. It becomes a cycle of consumption rather than accumulation. The wealthy often understand something different. When their income rises, their investments rise first. Their lifestyle may improve, but gradually and intentionally. They increase assets before increasing appearances. That order changes everything. Assets generate income. Liabilities demand income. One builds freedom. The other builds dependence. Another problem with rapid lifestyle growth is that it limits risk-taking in positive ways. When your monthly obligations are high, you cannot easily explore business opportunities, career changes, or investments that require patience. Your expenses control your decisions. Financial pressure reduces options, and reduced options limit growth. Wealth is not about how impressive your life looks today. It is about how secure and flexible your life is tomorrow. A person earning a moderate income with low fixed expenses and strong investments often has more real freedom than someone earning far more, but committed to an expensive lifestyle. Income growth is powerful, but only if a significant portion of that growth is directed toward assets that multiply over time. If every raise is absorbed by lifestyle, you remain financially fragile regardless of how much you earn. And that is how people with high incomes quietly stay broke. One of the quietest ways people destroy their wealth is by avoiding investing out of fear. Not because they lack money, not because they lack opportunity, but because they are uncomfortable with uncertainty, and that discomfort keeps them stuck. I understand the fear. Markets move up and down. Headlines scream about crashes. Social media amplifies losses. It feels safer to keep money in a savings account where the number never drops. Stability feels secure. But what most people fail to see is that doing nothing carries its own risk. Inflation does not ask for permission. It slowly reduces the purchasing power of your money every single year. If your cash is sitting idle earning little to nothing, it is quietly losing value. You may feel safe because the number in your account stays the same, but what that number can buy continues to shrink. That is a hidden loss most people ignore. Avoiding investing often comes from a lack of understanding. When people do not know how something works, they assume it is dangerous. Instead of learning, they withdraw. Instead of starting small, they wait for certainty. The problem is certainty never arrives in financial markets. Wealth is built by those who learn to operate within uncertainty, not avoid it. There is also the pain of past mistakes. Someone invests once the market dips, they panic and sell. They conclude investing is gambling. But what failed was not investing itself. It was the lack of strategy and patience. Markets reward time, not emotion. Reacting to short-term movements destroys long-term gains. Many people believe they will start investing once they earn more money. That mindset delays growth unnecessarily. Investing is not about large amounts. It is about consistency and time. Even modest contributions, when compounded over years, can grow significantly. Waiting for the perfect moment often means missing the most powerful years of compounding. Fear also pushes people toward extreme caution. They may over-diversify into low-growth assets or constantly move money based on news cycles. This constant shifting creates instability. Wealth grows when capital is allowed to stay invested and work. Interrupting that process repeatedly weakens results. There is a fundamental difference between risk and volatility. Volatility is temporary movement. Risk is permanent loss of capital. Long-term investors who focus on strong assets understand that temporary declines are part of the process. Avoiding volatility altogether means sacrificing growth altogether. Ownership is how wealth is built. Owning businesses through equities, owning real estate, owning productive assets. Simply earning income and storing cash is not enough. Income creates opportunity. Investment creates expansion. The irony is that people often fear losing money in the market. yet they ignore the guaranteed erosion of purchasing power when they do not invest. One feels dramatic and visible. The other feels quiet and invisible. But over time, the invisible cost can be far greater. Avoiding investing may feel safe in the short term. In the long term, it is one of the most expensive decisions a person can make. High-interest debt is one of the fastest ways to destroy wealth, and most people underestimate how damaging it really is. It feels manageable at first. A small balance on a credit card, a quick personal loan, a buy now pay later purchase that seems harmless. The monthly payment looks affordable, so it does not feel urgent. But beneath the surface, interest is compounding against you every single day. When you carry high-interest debt, you are working for the lender before you work for yourself. A portion of your income is automatically redirected toward interest payments that do not build assets, do not increase your net worth, and do not create future income. They simply compensate someone else for the use of money you already spent. The real danger is the compounding effect. Compound interest is powerful when it works in your favor. It is destructive when it works against you. Investors earn compound interest. Borrowers with high-interest debt pay compound interest. That difference alone can determine whether someone builds wealth or remains financially stuck for years. Credit card interest rates are often extremely high. If you carry a balance month after month, a large part of your payment may go toward interest instead of reducing the principal. This creates the illusion of progress. You are paying every month, but the balance barely moves. Meanwhile, you lose the opportunity to invest that same money into assets that could grow. Debt also reduces flexibility. When you have fixed payments due every month, your financial choices narrow. You may stay in a job you dislike because you cannot afford a temporary income gap. You may avoid investment opportunities because cash flow is tight. You may delay saving because the priority is keeping up with payments. Debt limits options, and limited options limit growth. There is also a psychological weight attached to debt. Even if someone appears financially stable, carrying high balances often creates underlying stress. That stress influences decisions. It can lead to short-term thinking, reactive behavior, and avoidance. Financial clarity becomes harder when part of your income is already spoken for before you receive it. Another issue is normalization. Many people grow accustomed to always having some form of debt. It becomes part of their financial identity. As one loan ends, another begins. Instead of breaking the cycle, they maintain it. Over time, they may earn more money, but the pattern remains the same. Increased income simply supports larger debt. The most powerful wealth builders understand leverage carefully. They may use debt strategically for appreciating assets or business expansion, but they avoid high-interest consumer debt that funds depreciating purchases. There is a major difference between borrowing to build and borrowing to consume. Every dollar spent on interest is a dollar that cannot be invested. Over years, that lost opportunity becomes massive. It is not just the interest you pay. It is the growth you never earn because your money is busy servicing past decisions. High-interest debt does not usually ruin someone overnight. It slowly drains momentum, reduces flexibility, and weakens long-term progress. And that is why it is so dangerous. One of the most underestimated threats to wealth is the habit of ignoring small daily expenses. Individually, they seem harmless. A coffee here, a quick online order there, a few unused subscriptions quietly renewing each month. None of these decisions feel significant in the moment. They are small, affordable, and easy to justify. But wealth is not destroyed in one dramatic purchase. It erodes through repeated, unnoticed leaks. The human brain is wired to focus on large financial decisions. We debate buying a house. We negotiate a car price. We think carefully before making a major investment. But small expenses slip past our attention because they do not trigger the same level of scrutiny. That is where the problem begins. When you spend $10 or $20 casually, it feels insignificant compared to your income. But when that behavior becomes daily or weekly, the annual total becomes surprisingly large. Multiply that over 5, 10, or 20 years, and the numbers become even more serious. The real loss is not just the money spent. It is the compound growth that money could have generated if invested consistently. Another issue is emotional spending. Many small purchases are not about need. They are about convenience, boredom, stress, or reward. After a long day, it feels easier to order food instead of cooking. After a stressful week, it feels justified to buy something new. These patterns become habits, and habits become automatic. Automatic spending rarely aligns with long-term wealth building. Subscription culture adds another layer. Streaming services, software tools, apps, memberships. Each one looks inexpensive on its own, but collectively, they create a steady monthly outflow that continues regardless of how much value you actually receive. Because the payments are automatic, they are often forgotten. Money leaves your account quietly and consistently. Small expenses also influence mindset. When spending becomes casual, saving feels optional. The discipline required to build wealth weakens. If money is always flowing outward in small amounts, it becomes harder to redirect larger portions toward investments. Financial awareness decreases, and with it, control. What makes this habit particularly dangerous is that it feels normal. Everyone does it. Society encourages it. Convenience is marketed as essential. Instant gratification is easily available. Resisting small spending requires awareness and intention, which most people do not practice consistently. Over time, these small financial decisions shape larger outcomes. The difference between investing an extra few $100s a month and spending it casually can mean a significant gap in net worth after a decade. The impact may not be visible in 1 month or even 1 year, but over long periods, the effect is undeniable. Wealth is built through accumulation and consistency. When money constantly escapes through small, unmanaged expenses, accumulation slows down. It becomes harder to reach meaningful milestones. The opportunity cost grows quietly in the background. The truth is simple. Small expenses are not dangerous because of their size. They are dangerous because of their frequency. And frequency, combined with time, has the power to either build wealth steadily or drain it silently. One of the most expensive habits in personal finance is delaying important financial decisions. It sounds harmless. I'll start saving next month. I'll invest when I earn more. I'll figure out retirement later. These statements feel reasonable in the moment. Life is busy. Income feels tight. There is always something more urgent demanding attention. But time does not pause while you wait. The cost of delay is invisible at first. You do not feel it immediately. You do not receive a bill labeled "lost opportunity." But in the background, something powerful is being sacrificed. Time is the most valuable asset in wealth building because of compounding. The earlier you begin, the less effort required later. The later you begin, the harder you must work to catch up. Many people underestimate how dramatic the difference can be between starting early and starting late. A few years may not seem like much, but in investing, those years can represent exponential growth. Compounding is not linear. It accelerates over time. The money you invest earns returns, and those returns begin earning returns of their own. When you delay, you shorten the runway for that process to work. Procrastination in finance often comes from waiting for ideal conditions. People want the perfect income level, the perfect market timing, the perfect plan. But financial progress rarely begins with perfection. It begins with action. Small, imperfect steps taken consistently outperform perfect plans that are never implemented. There is also a psychological comfort in postponement. Delaying a decision removes immediate pressure. You tell yourself you will handle it later, and for the moment, that feels relieving. But unresolved financial decisions accumulate stress quietly. Retirement planning, insurance coverage, debt repayment, investing strategies. Leaving them unaddressed creates uncertainty that grows over time. Another problem with delay is that it reduces options. When you start late, you may need to take higher risks to achieve the same results. You may need to contribute larger portions of your income. You may feel forced into aggressive strategies because you no longer have time on your side. Starting early gives you flexibility. Starting late removes it. Opportunities also pass when action is postponed. Market cycles shift. Investment prices change. Business ideas lose relevance. Skills that could have been developed earlier remain undeveloped. Delay is not neutral. It often means forfeiting growth that could have been captured. Financial independence is built gradually. It is not achieved through one dramatic move. It is the result of repeated decisions made over years. When those decisions are consistently pushed into the future becomes harder to secure. The truth is that most people do not regret starting too early. They regret waiting too long. The moment you take control of your finances, even in small ways, momentum begins. Waiting keeps you in the same place. Action, even modest action, shifts direction. Time will pass whether you act or not. The only question is whether it will work for you or against you. Let me leave you with this. Wealth is not built by chance, it is built by behavior. Quiet, consistent, disciplined behavior repeated over years. The 6 habits we discussed today are not dramatic. They do not look dangerous. That is exactly why they are powerful. They slowly shape your financial future without you noticing. You do not need a massive income to build wealth. You need control. You need awareness. You need decisions that favor your future instead of your impulses. Every financial outcome you experience 5 years from now will be the result of the habits you practice starting today. Not next year. Not when things feel easier. Today. If you eliminate even 2 of these destructive patterns, you shift your trajectory. If you replace them with intentional planning, disciplined investing, controlled spending, and decisive action, you create momentum. And momentum in finance changes everything. Remember this, income creates opportunity. Habits determine outcomes. The question is not whether you can build wealth. The question is whether your daily decisions are aligned with it. Choose wisely. Your future is watching.